Tonight we take you to the tense, electrified skies above the South China Sea, where every maneuver and every decision can have global consequences. What began as a routine patrol mission for the US Navy nearly spiraled into a full-blown international incident, underscoring just how quickly the balance of peace can tip in these contested waters. High above the churning waves, a US Navy helicopter crew found themselves in a tense face-off with their Chinese counterparts, both sides locked in a silent, high-stakes standoff. The American pilots, flying the advanced MH-60R Seahawk, suddenly encountered China's formidable Z-20F naval helicopter, each aircraft representing the pride and power of their respective nations. The stakes in this aerial encounter were incredibly high. With both nations on edge, a single wrong move could have set off a chain reaction, drawing in warships and escalating tensions across the region. In these moments, the margin for error is razor thin. A miscalculation, a misunderstood signal, or even a momentary lapse in judgment could have triggered a conflict with far-reaching consequences. The date was October 16, 2025. A day that would be remembered by all those involved. Far below the helicopters, the USS Arleigh Burke, a powerful guided missile destroyer, sliced through the waves on a critical freedom of navigation operation, asserting the right to sail through these contested waters. The Seahawk helicopter, callsign Guardian 2-5, served as the ship's vigilant eyes in the sky, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. At the controls were Lieutenant Commander Eva Viper Rostova and Lieutenant Jake Slider Mitchell, both seasoned pilots. Their mission, to scan for threats, gather intelligence, and ensure the safety of their ship and crew. Suddenly, their radar lit up with a new contact, a fast-moving shape, flying low over the water, closing in at an alarming speed. It was a Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy helicopter, approaching with clear intent, its presence impossible to ignore. Inside the cockpit, the tension was a living, breathing force. Every muscle was taut, every sense heightened, as the crew prepared for whatever might come next. This was more than just a chance meeting in the sky. It was a test of nerves, skill, and diplomacy, an encounter that could shape the future of the region. For the American crew, their mission had suddenly become twofold: complete their patrol and, just as importantly, de-escalate a potentially explosive situation before it spiraled out of control. This encounter would soon be studied as a textbook example of modern military brinkmanship, a reminder of how close the world can come to the edge and how vital calm, professional decision-making is in the face of danger. The South China Sea is a critical artery for global trade. China asserts sovereignty over nearly the entire sea, marked by its controversial 9-dash line. The US challenges China's excessive maritime claims. China has militarized artificial islands, creating a zone of control. The US Navy conducts regular freedom of navigation operations. The environment is in a constant state of low-level friction. The presence of the USS Arleigh Burke was a clear statement of American resolve. The appearance of the Chinese Z-20YF was a deliberate response. For the crews of Guardian 2-5, the abstract geopolitical tensions had just become a very real and immediate danger. The American aircraft was the Sikorsky MH-60R Seahawk. It is the backbone of the US Navy's helicopter fleet. The Seahawk is a multi-mission marvel, designed for various operations. Facing off against this veteran workhorse was China's Harbin Z-20F. The Z-20F looks strikingly similar to the American Blackhawk. It represents a significant leap forward for the People's Liberation Army Navy. The Z-20F is equipped with modern avionics and weaponry. However, it lacks the decades of operational refinement of the Seahawk. This confrontation was a test of not just technology, but of military philosophy. The Chinese Z-20F closed the distance with alarming speed, its rotors slicing through the humid air as it surged forward, a menacing silhouette against the endless blue of the Pacific. It flew directly at the Seahawk, a clear act of intimidation, as if daring the American crew to flinch or break formation. The intent was unmistakable, a show of force meant to rattle nerves and test resolve. Inside Guardian 2-5, the atmosphere was electric but controlled. Every crew member felt the tension, but years of training kept their reactions measured and precise. Viper Rostova kept the Seahawk in a stable hover, hands steady on the controls, eyes locked on the instruments and the approaching threat. Slider Mitchell handled the communications, reporting the situation back to the destroyer with calm professionalism, relaying every movement and maneuver in real time. The Chinese helicopter didn't slow down. Instead, it seemed to accelerate, pushing the boundaries of safe conduct in international airspace. It swooped in, passing less than 100 feet from the American aircraft, a near miss that sent a jolt through the cockpit, but the crew held their composure. The Z-20F then pulled up into a steep climb, positioning itself above and behind the Seahawk, a classic tactic to assert dominance and keep the Americans guessing. LCDR Rostova refused to take the bait. Her focus never wavered, her hands never trembled, even as the situation grew more dangerous by the second. The U.S. Navy's rules of engagement are clear. Do not escalate, but do not back down. Every action was measured, every response calculated to avoid provocation while standing firm. The crew in the back kept their focus on their consoles, monitoring radar, tracking the Z-20F's every move, and preparing to respond to any sudden change. The Z-20F pilot continued the harassment for several minutes, circling, darting in and out of close range, trying to provoke a mistake or a reaction. The American crew held their ground, their discipline unshaken, their training and teamwork on full display, as they refused to be drawn into a reckless confrontation. They simply continued their mission, documenting everything with cameras and sensors, gathering evidence of the encounter for intelligence and future briefings. This steadfast discipline was a powerful message in itself, a silent but unmistakable signal that the U.S. Navy would not be intimidated or provoked. The Chinese pilot, growing more frustrated with every failed attempt to rattle the Americans, was about to make critical mistakes, errors that could escalate the situation or expose his own vulnerabilities. At the heart of this confrontation were two sophisticated pieces of military hardware. The MH-60R Seahawk is a flying network of sensors. Its radar can detect, classify, and track hundreds of surface contacts. The Seahawk systems are the result of a long, iterative process of development. The Chinese Z-20F boasts a similar array of systems. U.S. intelligence was eager to learn more about these Chinese systems. The key difference was in their integration and operational maturity. The Seahawk systems are designed to work together seamlessly. The Z-20F, being a newer design, was more of an unknown quantity. The aggressive flying by the Chinese pilot provided the American crew with a golden opportunity to find some answers. In any high-tech confrontation, the most important variable is the human one. The American crew exemplified disciplined professionalism. Their primary response to provocation is to gather information. Every maneuver by the Chinese pilot was data to be collected. This approach requires immense mental fortitude. The U.S. Navy's training drills this instinct out of its aviators. The mission was presence and intelligence gathering. The Chinese pilot displayed a different philosophy, prioritizing aggressive posturing. His actions were those of a pilot trying to assert dominance. The American crew was playing chess, thinking several moves ahead. The Chinese pilot was playing checkers, focused only on the next jump. In his attempt to win a momentary psychological victory, he was giving his opponents a strategic advantage. This fundamental difference in mindset and training would prove decisive. The Chinese pilot's frustration grew with every passing moment. He had expected the Americans to respond to his aggressive maneuvers, to show some sign of intimidation or alarm. Instead, he was met with silence and calm professionalism, which only fueled his irritation. The Americans were not reacting at all. Their composure was unshakable, as if they had seen this kind of provocation countless times before. They simply continued their patrol, eyes focused, hands steady, refusing to be drawn into a confrontation. In a final, desperate attempt to force a reaction, the Z-20F pilot made a critical mistake. He pushed his helicopter even closer, flying with reckless aggression, determined to break the Americans' resolve. He decided to paint the American helicopter with his fire control radar, a move that crossed a dangerous line. This act was not just a show of force, it was a direct threat, signaling that weapons could be locked on at any moment. For the American crew, this was both a moment of heightened alert and an unexpected opportunity. Not only did it confirm the threat, but it also presented a treasure trove of intelligence. The Seahawk's advanced ESM system immediately captured the radar's unique signature, recording every detail of the electronic emission. This was the electronic fingerprint of the Z-20F's weapon system, a rare and valuable find for any military analyst. The Chinese pilot, in his eagerness to intimidate, had just handed this critical information to the Americans on a silver platter, without even realizing it. In his aggressive maneuvering, he also revealed the Z-20F's performance envelope, how sharply it could turn, how quickly it could climb, and how fast it could accelerate. The Seahawk's crew meticulously recorded its turn radius, rate of climb, and acceleration, gathering data that would be invaluable for future encounters. These flight characteristics are vital for understanding an aircraft's true capabilities, helping to shape tactics and countermeasures for years to come. Each aggressive act, meant to intimidate, became an unforced error, each one revealing more than the pilot intended. The Chinese pilot thought he was demonstrating strength and resolve, but in reality, he was exposing his aircraft's secrets to a watchful and prepared adversary. In the end, the Americans had turned what could have been a dangerous confrontation into a passive intelligence-gathering mission, walking away with a wealth of new information, without ever firing a shot. As the Z-20F finally broke off, a quiet sense of victory settled over the crew of Guardian 2-5. They had not fired a shot, yet they had won a significant intelligence victory. The data was immediately transmitted back to Pacific Fleet headquarters. Analysts had a wealth of real-world, high-fidelity data. The electronic signature of the fire control radar was the crown jewel. U.S. forces could now update threat libraries in all their aircraft and ships. Electronic warfare specialists could develop specific countermeasures. The flight performance data was equally valuable. Military planners could run more accurate simulations of potential conflicts. The balance of power in the skies over the South China Sea had shifted. Information is ammunition. The Seahawk crew had absorbed the adversary's aggression and converted it into a tangible, long-term advantage. The encounter over the South China Sea offers a profound lesson for the 21st century. The decisive factor is often not the hardware, but the humanware. The professionalism, discipline, and training of the individuals determine the outcome. The American crew's adherence to their training turned a potential crisis into an intelligence coup. Their coolness under pressure was a strategic weapon. The Chinese pilot's aggression was strategically self-defeating. It revealed a doctrinal weakness. A focus on short-term intimidation at the expense of long-term operational security is a critical flaw. The story of the Seahawk and the Z-20F is a reminder that in modern conflict, the battlefield is everywhere. The most effective warriors are the most disciplined and informed. Professionalism is the most powerful weapon in the arsenal.